For the last 9 years, I've coached busy men to shed body fat using 5 key rules that keep me and my clients ripped year after year. So if you're aiming to reach 10 to 15% body fat and maintain it with a busy and hectic lifestyle, I'm going to break down each of these 5 rules and show you how to implement it into your routine so that you can not only get lean, but stay lean. Rule number 1. Imagine I pull up out the front of your house, I honk the horn a few times, and you're like, Zach, what are you doing here, man? And I'm like, brother, get in, we're going. So you hop into my Lamborghini and we're off on a joyride. Then you ask, so Zach, where are we actually going? And I say, don't worry about it, man. Let's just keep driving. Anyway, 2 hours pass and we didn't end up going anywhere. I drop you back at home and we basically just wasted a bunch of time, fuel, without anything to show for it. And this is just how many guys feel about losing body fat, because they either just sign up to another gym membership or buy some new equipment, a Peloton, dumbbells, treadmill, whatever it is, or they maybe just hop on the next most popular diet that all their friends or work buddies, cousins, friends, nephew is telling them to do. But they don't have a clear, realistic and achievable goal or time frame, which means it's impossible to map out a roadmap to actually achieve anything, like expecting Google Maps to take you to a destination without actually telling it where you want to go. So the first rule is, before wasting any time, money or energy, here's what you need to do. The first thing is to get really clear on exactly what it is you want to achieve. This calculator that I'm about to walk you through is included in my business body blueprint routine. More info on that in the description, but let me show you how it works. So let's say that you are 240 pounds. And if you look at these images, you can take a guesstimate on your body fat percentage. Let's just assume that it's over 30%, but maybe not quite 40. So let's just say 34%. But your goal is to get to 15%. As a result, to achieve that, your body weight needs to approximately be around 186.4 pounds. That would mean you need to drop 53.6 pounds, and at a pace of 1 pound per week, that would take 107 weeks, or if you doubled that pace, it would take about 53 weeks. This is really important because once you're clear on exactly what your goal is, then you can focus on rule number 2. So let me tell you about 2 guys, both in their 40s, named Joe and Pete. They both run their own business, have families, and are busy guys who have been carrying an extra 40 pounds, or approximately 20 kilos, for years, and they're trying to get lean and healthy again. Not just to look and feel good, but to be the role model for their kids that they never had. So Joe has given up all of his favorite treats. No more snacks, no eating out, no more beers with the buddies or wines with the wife. He's eating what he thinks are healthy meals every day. But no matter how strict he is, he's not seeing his body get any leaner. Pete, on the other hand, still eats normal dinners with the family, goes out to eat a few times a week, and even has a few beers with staff or a wine with the missus on date night. And yet Pete is steadily dropping body fat. Here's what Joe doesn't realize. Joe is just focused on trying to eat healthy foods, but he's not paying attention to how much he's actually eating. Pete, however, is eating a mix of healthy and maybe not so healthy foods, but he can see his muscle definition more and more every week. And that's because his metabolism is burning off more fat than what he's consuming, even though his meals aren't perfect. The reason why he's able to burn off more body fat without eating the perfect diet food is because he's keeping his body in a fat loss mode by maintaining a calorie deficit in his nutrition. And this is why rule number 2 is not just about your choice of foods, which is very important to stay healthy, for energy, testosterone, longevity, and basically everything. However, food choice is queen and a calorie deficit is king for losing body fat. Because the fact is, we can eat the healthiest salads ever made on the planet all day, every day, but we can still be overeating without realizing it. And that will stop us from getting lean and ripped, even though we think we're doing everything perfectly. But there is another rule that will help you maintain this calorie deficit so that you can stay in a fat loss mode and continue burning more body fat over time. But before we dive into that rule, you know that the diet is just one piece of a bigger puzzle. And rule number 3 is another big piece that has to fit in. So imagine you're out in the woods. The sun has set, you can feel the cool breeze drifting in, and you're quickly trying to start up a campfire. You pile on a ton of wood and try to ignite everything at once, yet catches a light. You're left with a bit of smoke and a pile of cold wood. However, if you had got a handful of sticks of kindling and got them burning, you could gradually add more logs to the fire as it grows steadily. And soon enough, you would have had a roaring fire going that would last all night with the wood that you have available. This same principle applies to your workouts. Far too often, I see men overwhelm themselves going from 0 to like 4, 6 or more workouts a week. They throw everything they can at it, thinking that by doing more, that it's better and they'll get a faster result so they can then get to the destination quicker, then ease off the brakes and relax. But it rarely ever works out like that, because all it takes is one hectic busy day with work or family or trips, traveling, feeling unwell to get in the way, burn you out and stop all the progress, making you feel more demotivated and making it harder to get motivated to get back on the wagon and keep pushing again. So rule number 3 is not to throw all the logs into the fire. Instead, it's to progress with fewer workouts before adding more to it. That means if you're doing 0 workouts, start with 1 or 2 per week. If you're doing 1 or 2 workouts a week, then progress with 2 to 3 workouts per week. And get better and better and better at doing 2 to 3 before you add a 4th workout into the mix. And that's because a quality workout beats doing more low quality workouts. But the only way you will be able to achieve a quality workout is if you implement rule number 4. So imagine you're investing in the stock market. Every day you're logging into your online portfolio and seeing the ups feels good, but seeing a lot of downs drives you a little crazy. It feels like your investment is going nowhere and you're starting to doubt the companies you're invested in and are looking at other companies which appear to be growing quicker every day compared to your investments. But then you have a call with your investing mentor who tells you to stop, slow down, and zoom out. And then you feel a big relief because while you were stressed looking at the daily ups and downs, you didn't notice that you had made a good profit over 3 to 6 months. And this is why tracking your biofeedback data is absolutely critical if you want to lose body fat and keep it off long term. In fact, I will not coach a client if they're not tracking their biofeedback data within my program, and I'll show you why. So here's a weight chart of a client who dropped 14.1 pounds in 67 days. Now, here's what's interesting. I did an analysis on the chart, and what I discovered was probably the opposite of what most people think, because it turns out that of the 67 days, only 25 days my client was hitting below new body weight lows. So that means for 42 days, my client was not losing more body weight than what he was currently at. But despite not consistently dropping body weight every single day, he still dropped 14 pounds in just over 2 months. So my point is, you're not going to see what you want to see every single day, but it's when you zoom out and you see the full picture and you can see that the trend is heading in the right direction. That is why the data is so important, because if you don't have the data, you would never see these trends. And this data tracking applies to all the rules that we just discussed. Tracking your nutritional budget to stay in a calorie deficit. Tracking your steps and calorie burn to make sure that your metabolism is staying elevated to keep you in a fat loss mode. Tracking your workouts to build more muscle and make sure that every week you're progressing in your strength and what you're doing in every single exercise, that you're not wasting any time in the gym. Your biofeedback data is critical to all of this, because when you implement a biofeedback data system, then you can zoom out like on an investment portfolio, and it'll remove all this day-to-day stress on the fluctuations that everybody experiences on this journey. And the bonus benefit is when you have all this data, you will then know what to optimize ongoing and set new milestones. And if things get in the way of life, you'll have a clear path on how to navigate this and overcome the hurdles, so that even if you do have a bad day or a bad week, you know, okay, well, if I just change this, or if I change my KPIs or adjust my calories a little bit, it'll keep you on track to continuously get more progress without sacrificing your entire life for it. This is why I've included my biofeedback data template inside my business body blueprint routine. But before you check that out in the description, I need to show you rule number 5, because you could be doing everything perfectly, yet get blindsided by life, which ruins all of your progress and efforts. But there is a simple way to avoid and overcome setbacks that just life throws at us when we least expect it. For example, Tom Brady, known to be the greatest of all time in the NFL, is also known to be one of the most strict athletes on his diet. However, one of his teammates revealed that despite being super strict on his diet, he would still, no matter where they stayed or whatever state they were playing in, that Tom would find a way to sneak in chicken wings into his dinner before they all went off to bed to recover and prepare for the game. It was his little guilty pleasure. So here's why this is important. I once worked with a guy who, I won't reveal his personal information for privacy, but let's just call him Sam, for example. He was doing great. He had his meals dialed in, his workouts on point, and he was dropping body fat steadily. But then came a big business conference where he was away from his normal routine, out of the house for 3 days. 3 days of dinners, drinks, staying up later than usual, snacking on foods, and cafes and restaurants and places that he doesn't normally go to. And Sam was worried that by the end of this 3-day event, that all his progress would be ruined. But here's the thing, Sam had a plan. Before the conference, we created a plan B, which meant that week prior to the conference, he banked some calories. And then after the event, he didn't throw in the towel. We just compensated for whatever the surplus was from the event. So by simply planning ahead and then compensating after the event, Sam was able to enjoy the conference and still stay on track. He didn't gain any fat or lose any momentum with his program because he knew how to adapt his lifestyle around what he was doing for short periods of time. And we had the biofeedback data behind the scenes to know exactly how different meals were going to affect how he felt and his body weight and just his energy in general. So my point is that it's not about being perfect. It's about having a strategy so that those inevitable events that pop up for everybody, trips, parties, celebrations, whatever they are, that they don't take you off course, even if you want to enjoy a couple of cheap meals or a couple of drinks or snacks that you don't normally have. And this is why rule number 5 is to plan ahead and to compensate. And by doing this, you'll stay in the game like an athlete would to keep performing and keep getting results because you're just adjusting to the ebbs and flow of your normal life. But most people don't think this is possible because they're not following rule number 4 that we just talked about. They're not tracking their biofeedback data, so they always think that it has to be some special food or 20,000 steps a day or a treadmill that does all the magical fat loss work. Well, no, it's not. It's a combination of all these things which goes into the bucket, and the biofeedback data tells you what is working and what's not working so you can fine tune the dials. This is what I do one-to-one with all my clients. Otherwise, they would have figured it all out for themselves if they had already had a biofeedback data system. And when you have a simple system to track your biofeedback data, it is much easier to consistently break through plateaus and implement the right KPIs and milestones that you need to consistently drop body fat so that when you do get chiseled abs and your physique's looking amazing, you can maintain it ongoing, regardless of what is going to pop up for you. This is how we get and stay ripped year after year without losing any time regaining body fat and then having to lose it again in the future. So if you're looking for a system that you can implement to start shedding body fat this week, take a look at my business body blueprint. The link is in the description below this video. After you take a look at the blueprint or grab a copy, there are 5 more ways that you can naturally elevate your metabolism to burn more fat while shaping your chiseled physique, which I explain in this video right here. Go check that out next.